Hi, I'm Carrie from Classic Cottage Art and Antiques in Bowling Green, Virginia. Welcome back to part 2 of our cabinet makeover for our powder room. Hi, I'm back. I'm ready to paint my cabinets. So let's recap. I started by cleaning my cabinets, my old oak cabinets, with Dixie Belle White Lightning granular. I put it in my spray bottle and cleaned it with a Scotch-Brite pad, and then I rinsed it with plain water. That was step 1. Actually, step 1, tape off. Tape off where you don't want the paint to be. Just saying. I also removed my hardware. If you remember, I wanted to repaint my cabinets because I got brand new hardware and the cabinets didn't go with it exactly. And I want to make my powder room fresh and different looking. So, the next step I did was I took Dixie Belle Boss and painted 2 coats inside and out of, that's just so you don't see my junk, but 2 coats of the doors and everything with Dixie Belle Boss, because these were oak cabinets and I really expect them to bleed if I hadn't put the Boss on it. Now I've let it dry for quite some time. I had a fan put on it, and the Boss, if you put on really thin coats, it dries pretty quickly, so I'm pretty confident we can just go ahead and paint now. Okay, so what I will tell you, if you want a really good paint job on any piece of furniture or your cabinets, is to use a good brush. You can use a chip brush. You can use one of Dixie Belle's premium chip brushes. I personally like these Dixie Belle Paint synthetic brushes. This is the 1.5 inch, what do they call it? The flat medium. Can't remember the size of it. It's the flat medium. Very soft bristled brushes, and I've got paint on it already. But gives me a soft, smooth finish. I don't want brush strokes in my paint, and I don't want it to be streaky. So I'm going to use really thin coats of paint with a really good brush. I'm going to take my time, and I'm also going to make sure my brush is damp with a little bit of water. And I will mist it, you'll see me mist it every so often just to make sure that it's going to move fluidly for me so that it creates a smooth finish. So, normally I would take the cabinet doors off, but it'd be hard for me to show you the whole process if I took the doors off. So I was very careful. I don't know if you can see or not, hope the camera doesn't fall. But I took a little artist brush in these little areas back through here. And if that's okay with you, go for it. If you're doing this for a customer though, I would recommend taking the drawers, the drawers if you have drawers, the doors off and painting it that way. Some people like to spray, as I mentioned before. I thought I'd show you how to brush it because not everybody has a sprayer. So I'm using, I don't drop it, this color here. It's actually a discontinued flea market decor color made by Dixie. This color is called Birchwood. It's kind of a cross between maybe putty and sandbar, maybe. If you mix those 2 colors, you might come up with something like this. It's not quite burlap and it's not quite sandbar, but it's a really pretty color. And it goes really well, I'm hoping, with my new hardware. So, and I want to point out, before I get started, I did the 2 coats of Boss I had taped before. Always make sure that you remove your tape in between remove your tape in between your steps, because you always want to remove your tape when your paint is still wet. If your paint, or in this case the Boss, dries and your tape is still on there, when you pull it up, you take a risk of pulling the paint up with it. And in my case, I had missed a spot or 2, and so by pulling up the tape now, I was able to go back and fix those spots before I went to my next step. So then I just retaped, and now I'm ready to go. Let's get started painting. And like I said, this is a really pretty color. I used 2 coats of Boss simply because, I've lost my spray bottle, 2 coats of Boss because I was concerned about bleed through. And these were oak cabinets, and they really need to be repainted. I just covered here so you wouldn't see all the junk in my cabinets and I wouldn't have to take them all out. So I'm gonna get my brush just a little bit damp, not soppy wet, because I don't like it to be soppy wet because then you'll have drips. The key here though is to do really smooth strokes, very thin coats of paint, and that way you'll have a nice smooth finish. I'm going to start, where am I going to start so you can see? Let's start up here. I'm really just painting. Can't see what I'm doing here. And I put the white boss underneath because this is a lighter color, and I'll probably get a truer color with the white underneath. Also, I can see where I've gone. If I had done it over top of the brown, I might miss a few spots. So here we go. Really sweet and thin coats. Thin coats will do a couple of things for you. One, it'll dry quicker. Two, you'll have a less brush strokes in your paint. So if you like brush strokes, that's okay, but I like smooth. And three, you will use less product, so you'll have more paint to do another project. I mean, it's so simple. I mean, I'm doing this in just an afternoon. And I mean, look how simple that is, just that quick. Now this is gonna take 2 coats because I like to do really thin coats. And if you don't get full coverage the first time, don't worry about it. Your second coat will get your full coverage then. Oops, got a drip right there. And I'm gonna spray my brush just ever so slightly, just every now and then, because I want the paint to go smoothly. Once I'm finished with this, I will take probably 320 grit sandpaper and go back over it very lightly to smooth it down, because chalk paint is porous and it leaves it kind of a rough feeling, a chalky finish. But if you go over it with 320 grit sandpaper after you get done your second coat and it's completely dry, it'll be so smooth and so pretty. So I'm going to do that afterwards, but of course I'll have to wait till I do both coats. Right? Corner, gently. What I'm going to end up having to do, just like I did with the boss, is I'm going to take a art brush that I don't think I brought in here, and go down the edges from the inside and make sure I get all of those areas covered. The smart thing to do would be to take the cabinet doors off, but it would be very much harder for me to show you what I'm doing. So I think it's going to look beautiful. It's definitely going to look better than those oak cabinets. And it's a whole lot cheaper than having new cabinet put in or refacing these ones. Painting, way to go. For an inexpensive and actually quite satisfying makeover. Something you did yourself. Think of it that way. And I love these synthetic brushes for this. Paint goes on really smooth. I'm trying not to overwork it, of course. Like I said, I'm looking for drips because it's all these little angles and these little things. It's easy to catch drips if you get too much paint on your brush. So I'm just kind of trying to make sure as I go along that I don't have any drips, because then I would have to sand them out before I did any more coats of paint. I like to do the inside of cabinets just because when I open it, I want it to look pretty inside and outside. Well, the doors anyway, the junk in there. I really need to, if you have any tips on organizing your under cabinet things, let me know. I'm terrible at that. But this is a very small bathroom, and it's actually a powder room. And this is a project I'm doing in just an afternoon. So, or if you want to take your time and do it, you can do this in one day. Now, just keep in mind that this paint will be dry this evening. However, I probably will not put a clear coat on it until tomorrow. I just like to let my paint sit overnight before I put a clear coat on it. And I will be using Dixie Belle Gator Hide because it is the most durable and it's water resistant finish that we have. You could put some other kind of finish over, but I like to stick with all Dixie Belle products. The products I'm using are all water-based and all made in the United States, which is a nice thing to remember. And they work really well together. But the Gator Hide I will apply probably tomorrow afternoon. And then I will make sure that I'm extremely careful with the way I use this for at least 21 to 30 days. Why? For one thing, I'm in a wet environment here. And I don't want this to get wet until it cures out. It will be dry to the touch by tonight, as warm as it is in here with the heat and everything. But it will not be cured out for 21 to 30 days. What that means is it takes that long for water to evaporate out of the paint for it to bond completely to your piece. So I'm going to be super careful when I wash my hands, but I don't want it to get on my paint because then it will leave spots and it could actually reactivate the paint and cause it to have streaks and runs and things that I don't want even after I put the gator hide on it. So I just want to be super careful with it for about 30 days. Don't forget when you paint, and I'm almost afraid to tip you down, there is a kick plate underneath of here, and you want to make sure that you paint under there too, because it's not going to look right if you don't. It'll look unfinished. And because I've got this gloss on, it's acting like a primer, because it sort of is a primer, but it's also, excuse me, giving me really nice adhesion. Dixie Belle adheres very well anyway, but when you put it over boss or something, it really does a nice job. Just a spot there. Now, if I had a piece cabinet like this that had a high gloss finish, I really would have put Slick Stick over it. As a matter of fact, upstairs in my master bathroom, I have the side of my cabinet is not wood. It is actually, I don't know what it is, honestly. It looks almost like paper, like wallpaper stuff over something. It's really slick, and I don't want to sand through it. So I'm probably on the side going to use Slick Stick just as a preventative measure. The cabinets upstairs were just like these ones. They're ugly, and they're oak, and they're old. So I'm going to go ahead and put the boss on there as well. Over here, I'm going to have to take my little artist brush and get in the corner. This is where it would have been advantageous to remove the door, but like I said, it's harder for me to show you if I do remove the door. It's harder for me to show and paint and everything. So we're just going to do it like this. We've got to run right there. Always be careful on these little lips and things for runs. I'm the world's worst for letting them get running right there. Close this guy. I'm going to go down here and get as much as I can with this paintbrush, and then I'm going to use a soft artist brush for the rest of it. And then I'll be ensured that everything is covered. Just like that. Look how quickly that was. I mean, look at the transformation already. I'm going to like this a lot. A lot. So another place you want to be careful with drips is all in these little edges. And I might come back and do some decorative waxing in the details here. I'm not sure yet. If you've watched my videos before, you know I can't really leave anything plain. So I may either put glaze or dark wax on there. I'm not quite sure just yet. We will see how that works out. Paint left-handed for a minute, so I don't have to turn around again. Just be careful. Oh my goodness, look how good this is covering too. If you've never used Dixie Belle paint before, I would recommend you give it a try. It's very creamy, goes a long way, water-based, no smell. And it's just a joy to use, to be honest with you. Just a joy to use. Brush is getting a little dry. It needs a little bit of a spritz there. And this is like, when you can update your cabinets like this or update something big in your home like this and in an afternoon and for not a lot of money, this is very satisfying. It's also very relaxing. I'm not getting a whole lot of paint on the brush. I'm not at all. I'm just getting just a little bit at a time. That's why I keep going back and dipping. To me, if I get too much, that's when I get drips and runs and stuff I don't want to have happen. So, and see, that's not covered completely right there. I don't know if you can tell or not, but that's not covered completely right there, but that's okay. It's just the first coat. The second coat will completely take care of that. So I'm going to make sure that this is dry to the touch before I come back and do the second coat. Open this. Got my finger in it. Whoops. There we go. I will probably turn the fan on this because this paint actually dries so quickly anyways, but I'm impatient and I want to get it done. done before dinner. Then I can let it sit, and then I can put gator hide on it tomorrow. But we are almost done with the first coat, and it's so fast. I mean, this is so quick of a makeover. It's crazy. Because I didn't take the door off, I am actually going to be very careful and go around the edges. What I like to do is find my paper towel here just to have it ready. And I'm going to get it wet. I usually have like a rag or something to do this with, but I don't want to get paint on my hinges. If I do, you could tape your hinges, but I find that when I do that, I end up missing spots on the wood, so then I have to go back and fix it anyway. I'd rather just wipe it off when I see it happening, when I see paint on it as I paint. So I'm going to be very careful. I'm going to go up here like this. And I'm going to try to get in between here. I'm going to have to go back with my artist brush, but I'm going to see what I can get right there for right now. See, I've got a big run. But I'm going to kind of wiggle it around. Probably should take the door off. This might be a do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. So when I get paint on my hinge, I'm just going to be real careful to wipe it off, especially over the screws, so if I ever need to take it off, I can actually remove the screws easily. It actually might be quicker to paint with the doors on, then you can paint both sides at once. Otherwise, you have to do one side, let it dry, and then flip it over and paint the other side. The video ran out as I was taping this, so what I did was I finished painting this coat, painted a second coat, then I sanded with 600 grit sandpaper. 320 grit or higher is fine to create a smooth finish. Now I'm ready to put a clear coat on and do some detailing and finish with gator hide. Stay tuned.